Hello and welcome to Be in the Room Expert Series, Episode 3. Episode 3 out of 20 episodes that we are doing through the month of January to help you to stop shrinking and start leading with purpose in 2026. This expert series is something that I am bringing to you as a certified coach, as a certified business and executive coach who has also had the experience of leading at high levels, leading large teams, growing my own business, and also being a facilitator for why other leaders, high performing leaders, get these tools as well. And I'm bringing these tools to you because we can't always wait for someone else to invest in our future. We can't always wait for someone to invest in our leadership. In a lot of times when these spaces are given to people, there are certain people that get overlooked. And what I know from being a person who has had the experience of not only coaching, but the experience of leadership training is that this type of work is life-changing. It is game-changing. It has not only helped me to 10x things in my own career, but helped me to 10x my entire life. And I want to be a part of the reason why you, my people in my community, have these tools as well. So that is what we are going to be exploring over the next 3 weeks, this week included, over the next few weeks of January to make sure you have that. That being said, good morning. I've added a microphone today. So before I continue, I want to just check in. How's my sound coming in? Is it clear? Can you guys hear me? And also, good morning. Just say hi. Hey, Trishan. Hey, Yancy. Welcome. And MacArthur's here. Hi, Gisela. Or Giselle. Giselle Azaria. Hi, Giselle. Good to see you. How's my sound? All right. Thank you so much. It looks like we're good to go. Hi, Clarice. Thank you for joining. DJ Honey Vibes is here. Hey, welcome, welcome. I'm liking that we're seeing some regulars in here, and the regular thing is cool because part of the reason is that I'm giving you all advance notice as to when these lives are happening. I'm being consistent in terms of keeping the time, Monday to Friday at 9 a.m. so you can block these in your calendar and you can show up and be part of the part of the conversation. So I'm also saving these lives for Instagram afterwards so that if you need to go back, if you miss something, then of course you have it at your disposal. Switzerland! Nice! Switzerland's in the house. Love it. Hi. Okay. So, I know we got Switzerland in the house. I know we've got LA in the house. Who else do we have? Who else is joining us from where? Where in the world are these tools and knowledge? Where is it reaching to? Let me know in the chat. Of course, this is a live forum, so there is no teleprompter. There is no script. There is no reason for any of you to hold back in terms of asking the questions that you want to ask, inserting your comments, or sharing your experiences with the folks in the chat, okay? Part of the cool thing about being in the chat is that you can all communicate with one another as well. So as I'm talking through things, if things are starting to resonate with you, if you're starting to identify with what's been going on here, say so in the chat to let others feel seen. Your bravery, your vulnerability, not just in life, but in these sessions could be so impactful to someone else who is watching this live, including myself. North Carolina's here, Kansas City's here, Long Beach, California, more California, and Toronto, Peachy Keen, nice, hometown Toronto. Okay, so let's get started with what we're talking about today. So far, in this series, week 1 is all about emotional mastery. And a lot of people wonder, why do we start a professional, expert, executive leadership workshop series on talking about emotional mastery? And that is because emotional mastery is the toolkit, is the powerhouse toolkit of executives. Because studies have been done and studies have proven that the higher your emotional intelligence, the higher your ability to earn income becomes. Because IQ will get you so far. IQ, your skills, what you've learned in school, what you're really good at, your subject matter expertise, all of that is really great, but you get to a point where you kind of hit a ceiling with how much you can do with that. what you start to think about doing at this point is starting to think about, okay, well, I know a lot. How do I start to scale my impact? How do I start to scale my business? And that scaling piece of it to get you to higher levels of income, to get you to higher levels of impact, to get you into higher rooms requires less of your knowledge in terms of your technical expertise and requires so much more of your emotional knowledge and expertise. Hey, Sean. Hey, JD. Nice to see you in here. Requires so much more of your knowledge and expertise. It's about how you see yourself. It's about how you navigate the rooms that you're in, how you build interpersonal relationships, how you express yourself emotionally, how you solve problems, and also make decisions and manage stress. As you move up in leadership, all of these things become amplified. The things, especially if you're an entrepreneur, your world becomes so much more ambiguous, where you're constantly dealing in a world of uncertainty, complexity. And when you're dealing with uncertainty and complexity, the emotions get heightened. The more people you start to lead, the more people you start to influence and impact, the higher the stakes are of you making the right decisions. And that's why leadership can be so heavy for people, and that's why emotionally it can be so heavy for people. And burnout is a huge risk as you move up in leadership, because if you're not learning the tools on how to navigate those heightened and complex emotions, then you're just going to burn out, you're just going to fail, and you're going to hold yourself back. The purpose of this series, of this week especially, is to help to give you the tools so that you can better understand your emotional internal landscape, normalize what is happening for you at various stages so that you can think slower, remove yourself from autopilot, stop yourself from reacting and moving into responding. Because responding, that's executive shit, okay? So again, these are the tools that I am not only teaching you here today, but these are the exact tools that I'm giving high performing leaders who are at the C-suite level, who are at the VP level, senior management level, on the ground level in all industries. This is leadership. And you don't need to be a leader of other people in order to embrace and utilize leadership skills. That's why we are starting with leading of self. That's why week number 1 is mainly focused on the leading of self part. And that is a good segue into what we're talking about today, because so far we've talked about the experience cube in episode 1. The experience cube is how you can slow down your thinking so that with some structure, so that you can start to understand, so that you can start to assess with clarity and plan out your next actions with clarity, and also be more assertive in the rooms that you're in with clarity, navigate difficult conversations with clarity, negotiate for higher salaries with clarity, prepare business cases and proposals, presentations with clarity. That is what the Experience Cube gives you. And then yesterday in episode 2, we talked about the feelings. Because in the experience cube, one of the biggest components that guides that clarity is the feeling word, but it's the one that most people will skip in professional settings. And we talked about that yesterday, and how if we're not paying attention to, if we're not learning how to expand and pay attention to emotional language, we are actually at risk of solving the wrong problem. And we're at risk of shaming ourselves for that feeling, so suppressing it, and then again, making decisions that are not in alignment, that are not powerful, that are not strategic, but are performative. So that is what feelings, of the power of feelings of what emotional literacy, that's the word I'm looking for, emotional literacy. So yesterday we talked all about emotional literacy in powerful and strategic decision making. Today, we are expanding on that, and we're going to be talking about the emotional cycle of change. Now, all of these things are things that not all of them, but let me just put this here, put this in the comment. Okay, so many of these things here are things that I am covering in the book that oh, I just put on a filter. I don't want to do that. Let me remove that. Okay. There we go. Okay. All of these things are things that I'm covering. Many of these themes are themes that I'm covering in my upcoming book, Be in the Room, which is now available for pre-order on Amazon. So if you are interested in expanding on some of the things that you're seeing in this series, then please, by all means, comment the word book below at any time during this live, and you will get access to the link in order to go and pre-order your copy because it's coming out on January 20th. All right. So, one of the big themes in this book is talking about the emotional cycle of change. Now, the emotional cycle of change was developed by two psychologists. And as I'm speaking, I realize that I've completely blanked on their names, but um, Richards and Kelley. I will put their names in the actual caption when I post this. But essentially, what they did was they did a number of studies to show what are the stages and cycles that people go through when they are encountering change, whether that is external change or internal change. Now, when we're talking about, let's just even use New Year's Eve. I'm going to start this off by painting this picture using a New Year's Eve resolution because I think that that's where so many people are today. And the goal here is that I want to be able to outline this process for you so that you can identify where you are and hopefully normalize this process for yourself. Because the less you are shaming yourself for where you are in the process, the more likely you are to build resilience and go through it. Now, I recognize that my board is a bit blurry. I actually don't know how to turn the focus off of my background on Instagram. I did some looking around yesterday, couldn't figure it out. But I didn't want to risk not being able to see the comments as they're coming in. So bear with me. I'm not going to put a lot of words up here. I'm just going to draw some visuals that you should be able to see despite the fact that they're blurry. All right, so the emotional cycle of change. Let's start with phase one. Now, let's just take an example of a New Year's resolution. What's someone's New Year's resolution that you have this year? Anyone want to shout theirs out, or I could just name one? Let me give a second for that to show. And I'll say hi to some folks. Hey, welcome. Thank you for joining episode 3 for this week. All right. So let's just say a common New Year's resolution is everyone wants to get in shape, right? Let's just say that. Everyone's in the gym. Everyone's like, 2026 is the year that I get into the best shape of my life. I don't know if that sounds familiar to many more of you, to some of you, but, or even like this one's good from Tariq, make more money. New Year's resolution, consistency with my gym life. Perfect. Read one book bi-weekly. Amazing. Okay. Be able to lift my sound system speakers onto stage so I don't have to go to someone to help me. Okay. So increasing your strength. So let's just pick one of them. I'm going to take one that's the most specific. So consistency with my gym life. So let's just say consistency with my gym life. Now, when you develop a goal for yourself, where you are, and I might have to do this backwards, where you are is you're in phase one. And phase one is called uninformed optimism. Now, in uninformed optimism, here's what this sounds like. I'm going to get into the best shape of my life in 2026. I'm going to be more consistent in the gym. I'm going to wake up early. I'm going to, put my clothes out beforehand. Like it's going to be great. I'm going to see the results that I want to see. I'm going to look better in my clothes. I'm going to feel better about myself. I'm going to feel more confident, et cetera, et cetera. Sounding familiar? And you can think of this with any of your resolutions. Think about where you are when you decided this is what you were going to do. I'm going to make more money. I'm going to launch this new thing. I'm going to, what was the other one? I'm going to read a book every week, right? Okay. Phase one, uninformed optimism. This is going to be great. What could go wrong? Okay. Good. Now, what happens when you start doing the work for phase one is that you actually descend into phase two. Now, phase two is called informed pessimism. When you enter into informed pessimism, it starts to look like, ooh, wow, this is actually harder than I thought it would be. This is taking more work. I'm having to sacrifice a lot. Being consistent with the gym, like I'm not getting to bed on time. Like I'm losing out on sleep. My body's sore. This doesn't feel good. I'm hungry all the time. I'm not seeing the progress that I want to see. I didn't think it was going to be this hard. I didn't think it was going to be this hard. And what do you think that most people do when they're in phase 2? They quit. They quit because they start to think that, you know what? I entered into this challenge for myself because I wanted to feel good. And right now, I don't feel good. I'm sore. I'm tired. I have low energy. I'm having to say no to a lot of things in order to say yes to this thing. It's uncomfortable. I don't like it. Which is why you're going to see for people who have this resolution to be more consistent at the gym, where do they stop going to the gym? Around the 3rd week of January, right? This is where people stop off. And that rate of people who drop off between phase 1 and phase 2, it's about 80%. 80% of people will drop off between phase 1 and phase 2 because really what they want to go back to is how they felt in phase 1. They want to go back to that optimism, and they're not feeling optimism right now, right? So maybe if they attach themselves to a new idea, a new resolution, a new project, a new whatever, then they can go back to feeling that way. The problem is that a lot of people just bounce between these two phases and never really progress beyond phase 2 and wonder why they're getting stuck. Now, for the 20% of people who actually do go beyond phase 2, who are like, this is annoying, this is harder than I thought it would be, but you know what? I'm going to keep going. They descend further into phase 3. Phase 3 is called the Valley of Despair, which sounds incredible, right? Phase 3 is called the Valley of Despair because this is where things are the hardest, where hope feels like non-existent for you. Self-doubt is so loud at this moment right now. You are actually convincing yourself that maybe you don't even have what it takes to see the results that you want to see. That you've been putting all this work and being consistent and doing the hard things, and still the number on the scale isn't moving. You're not seeing your clothes aren't fitting the way that you want them to. The results aren't coming fast enough. And you start to feel, again, like I said, self-doubt is something that enters the chat. Hey, JD, you're always triggered by the Valley of Despair, but it's something that enters the chat very frequently. But at phase 3, it is the loudest. It is absolutely where you can't even remember what your goal was anymore. And all you can do is start to romanticize what it was like at phase 1. Was it really that bad when I didn't have the body that I wanted? Was it really that bad when I wasn't going to the gym that regularly? At least I got to eat whatever I wanted to eat. At least I got to enjoy the things that I like to enjoy. At least I got to sleep in more. So you start to romanticize phase 1, kind of like an ex. You know what I mean? Like after you've broken up with an ex, like how bad was it really? And the hard part about it, I don't have to write it backwards. Thank you so much. It's going to be hard. The hard part about phase 3 is that right now you have so few people who are even in this valley. You have 20% of people in this valley, but you've got a whole bunch of people who are up at phase 1 who are telling you like, dude, just, you were fine the way you were before. Just don't worry. You're being too hard on yourself. Come back. Maybe you'll try again next year. There are so many people who are willing to pull you back to phase 1 because it's comfortable, because they want to see you be comfortable, because they want to see you be happy. And in the Valley of Despair, you don't look happy. Best intentions, but it's not actually helping, right? This is why this 20% of people who enter the valley, only 6% make it out. 6% of people make it out. The other 14% go right back up to phase 1. And let's just not even talk about a gym. Let's talk about the business idea that you had that you wanted to launch, the project that you had, the thing that you wanted to get off the ground, where you had the idea for something, then you started to do the work and you realized, oh my gosh, in order for me to do this, there's so many things that I don't know. I have to be a graphic designer. I have to figure out websites. I have to figure out paperwork. I have to sign up for an LLC. I got to do all these things. I didn't think it was going to be this hard. I just wanted to make an impact. And then you get down to the Valley of Despair. You're not getting any clients yet. You don't have clients yet. You're not making money. You you started this venture because you wanted to experience freedom, and you're working more than ever now, and you're lonely. People don't understand your journey. People have separated themselves from you. People are having fun in the world without you. It's hard, and you can see that it is lonely and palpable, right? So that is why so many people will not see their resolutions, their goals, their dreams through. It's because the valley of despair, it's like being in a very, very dark forest, and you can't see through the trees at all. You only have like a flashlight that can show you the next 2 feet in front of you, and that's all you have. Those people who put their head down and just walk the next 2 feet that they can see, which reveals another 2 feet, which reveals another 2 feet, which reveals another 2 feet, which reveals another 2 feet. Those are the people who enter into phase 4. And phase 4 is called informed optimism. Now, this is where your efforts are starting to pay off. If you're in the gym, you're starting to see results, like your abs are kind of coming back. If you're launching a business, you're starting to get attention or compliments from people. You're starting to get clients. You're starting to get people who are interested. You're starting to get people who are clicking or liking or whatever. This is where all of a sudden now you're like, oh my God, this might actually work. This might actually be something. And when you continue, which gives you the push and the motivation to keep going, because now you have optimism, you have hope. And that's going to take you to phase 5, which is now. Most people, yeah, why not? Most people, when they envision themselves in phase 1, they hope for there to be a bridge between 1 to 5. And when they experience the valley, they assume that they are doing it wrong. They assume that they're not cut out for it, or they assume that they just didn't attach themselves to the right goal to begin with, which is why they come back out. But if you think of anybody who you know, who has achieved, who you admire, who has done the things that you've wanted to do in stage 5, they will all tell you about their journey through the valley. Now, the power of this is being able to recognize that you are not failing because you are experiencing a valley. You are not ill-equipped because you are in the valley. If anything, it's showing that you have strength that no one else has been able to exemplify. And you can probably, as you're looking at that, and I can see in the context here, people who are saying that I've been in that valley many times before, and that is part of the resilience. Part of the resilience is being able to look back on some of your number 5 accomplishments and reflecting on those moments where you had the valley and what you did to get through those moments. What were the tools that you used to get yourself up to stage 5? What was it that you were experiencing? Because chances are, what you're experiencing right now, if you're back in that valley, and you will be back in that valley, what you will be experiencing is what you can lean on is the confidence that I've been here before. I have some tools, I have resources, I have a community. I'm not in this valley by myself. I can figure this out, right? I can figure this out because I have demonstrated a track record of figuring shit out before. I have demonstrated a track record of being in that valley before and getting the fuck out, okay? When you have that track record to reflect on, and you know that it is only a moment in time, it is a phase. That is what enables you to push through. Starting a new role this month. Oh, congratulations, Peachy Keen. And feeling in the valley, very timely message. Starting a new role is such a great example of being in this valley. Because again, you're learning so much and you don't know a lot. People are looking to you for answers that you don't yet have. And in here, when you start that new role, you're like, maybe I wasn't cut out for this. Maybe this is where imposter syndrome kicks in. Maybe I'm a fraud. They made a mistake by hiring me, right? But then as you keep going, as you keep your head down, eventually you're going to find yourself with higher levels of competence, higher levels of certainty, higher levels of confidence. And when you get to phase 5, now it's the time to celebrate your wins. Now is the time to figure out, well, based on what I know about my experiences, based on what I've experienced and what I've learned, how can I share this knowledge with other people? Can I mentor someone else who is navigating a new role? Can I mentor someone else who is looking for this knowledge? How can I expand my impact on this role so that I can start to imagine my new phase one and re-enter that valley again with more tools, more evidence, more resilience, and more grit and more knowledge. Okay? So here's the prompt for you. I want you to think about right now for you where you are in whatever change you're experiencing. What stage are you in? Maybe you're still in stage one. Maybe you've hit stage because you're still imagining what that could look like. Maybe you're in stage two because you've already started doing the work and you're feeling that friction of like, this is harder than I thought it would be. Maybe you're in the valley where you're feeling hopeless. I'm going to be very, very honest and transparent with you all right now, because if I want you to be honest and transparent with yourselves, then this is something that I want to lead by example here. If you ask me right now where I am, I'm in the valley. Had a conversation with my husband last night around feeling very, very hopeless about the things that I'm about 2026. And that sounds so crazy to say. And it sounds so unreasonable to say, but it's literally how I feel at the moment. Why? Because my phase one was about changing my business structure. My phase one was about launching a book this year. My phase one was about finding new avenues to generate revenue and saying no to certain things that were bringing in revenue before. And in phase two, saying no to that revenue that I was bringing in before, it is hard. It is hard to do. And trying new things and things I haven't proven myself in yet, talking about new things, trial and error, that's leading, and not yet seeing the kinds of results that I want to see, that is leading me into this valley where I am now. But the important thing about knowing this is that even when I feel hopeless, even when I feel at my darkest, which is in this period right now, because I know what it takes, because I've been here before, because I know that this is part of a cycle, that it's normal, it's a process, I can name it, that at least gives me the resilience to say, I don't feel hopeful right now, but I'm still going to show up like I've got all the optimism in the world. I don't feel confident right now, but I'm still going to show up like I'm going to rock this shit. Like I truly believe that. It's not about faking it till you make it, but it's about practicing the traits and the strengths that you had in phase one and the ones that you believe you're going to have in phase five. Because if I don't practice it here, I'm not going to get there. Thanks so much, Quebec Beauty. Nice to have you. Huge challenge for me is not to wear the emotions I feel in the valley. Yeah, it's a great question. I would honestly, in those moments, to challenge wearing the emotions, I definitely encourage you, if you haven't taken a look at episodes 1 or episodes 2 of this week, I highly encourage you to like name the feeling. So if you want to, if you don't want to wear the emotion you're feeling, even if you're able to identify the emotion that you're feeling, like I feel discouraged, I feel hopeless, I feel insecure, even that in and of itself reduces the intensity of that emotion dramatically. And using the experience cube is also a really great way to not only name that emotion, but turn it into something productive for yourself. Because if what you feel right now, for example, in this valley of hopeless, and you want to feel optimistic, I want to feel optimistic. Now you can start to chart paths and step and identify what you need more of in order to feel that optimism. So that is why I say the experience cube and naming at a bare minimum, naming an emotion is going to help you dramatically when it comes to figuring out how to reduce the intensity of that emotion so that you don't wear it. Okay, naming is powerful. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so that is the emotional cycle of change. And like I said, for you, think about where you are right now in this valley And then I want you to ask yourself, what do I need right now to take the next step? What is it that I need right now to take care of myself? Yeah, she is my sister is a gift. Thank you. What do I need to take care of myself? What do I need in order to be able to move forward with 1% more confidence? Okay? That's what your homework is for today. Because tomorrow, so now that we understand the emotional cycle of change, what we're going to talk about is we're going to overlay this tomorrow with the performance curve, which is going to help you better understand how our emotions impact our performance and what tools we can use when our performance is dipping in order to bring ourselves back to a new place. Okay, so this is the emotional cycle of change tomorrow, overlaying it with performance so that we can ensure that you have the tools to navigate and to say that by identifying where you are, where do I go to get out? All right. That's all for today. Thank you all so much for joining. I can't wait to have you with me tomorrow. All of this is laying the groundwork, doing the emotional mastery is all about laying the groundwork for what we're going to get into in week 2, which is going to be all about strategy, thinking bigger. Okay. So that's what we're going to get into now. The reason why I don't do it up front is because if we start making plans right now, if we start making big strategic plans today, we're potential and not identifying the pitfalls, the emotional pitfalls or the belief pitfalls that can get in the way of executing, then you're just going to build a plan that you're not going to execute. So I want to make sure that if we're going to sit down next week and we're going to build a strategy and we're going to lay out decisions, that you have the emotional tools and confidence to actually go and execute that plan. Okay? Awesome. We will see you tomorrow for the performance curve. Thank you all so much for joining me today and for the week. See you soon. Bye.